Welcome to Sister Code.
Welcome to Sister Code. Episode 2?
Episode 2.
Episode 2. 2-2.
And today we have our very special guest.
Our sister.
Jewel.
Hey, Jewel.
Hi.
Welcome to Sister Code. Thank you for being here.
And we're so happy to have her. This is our friend turned sister for over 12 years now.
Yes.
That's
We're getting old. We're getting old.
Yeah.
We're seasoned. You're right.
Yeah. And today we're going to talk about how friendships can turn into sisterhood. Yeah. And last episode we had our birth sister, and now we have our sister that we were able to choose.
Our chosen sister. Yeah, I love it.
Yay.
Very cool. Okay, we're going to get right into it. So here we have a little number of things that we do. One main thing that we do is we do a little check-in. Mm-hmm. So how about I start with you?
Okay.
So you get a little taste of what it feels like. So our 2 weeks in, where are you 2 weeks into November?
Wow. Today was a really special day because I actually had these two lovely ladies and then our other sisters for a special moment. A little proposal. I asked these ladies to be standing up with me on my wedding day, and it was so special. And we had a little brunch and kikied, and it was so nice. And I can't think of anything other than that right now. Like, I don't remember November. I just remember that.
Yeah, fair. I feel like that was a really good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we had fun. Bellies are full. We're full. All through and through.
Yeah.
How about you, Joelle? 2 weeks in.
2 weeks into November, I feel like it's post-hurricane season for me.
Okay.
So I'm not in the eye of a storm. It's like when things are starting to clear up, the water's starting to recede, like you're starting to see like what's left and starting to get things, back in order. I kind of feel like that's the season I'm in right now, or the top of November. November's kind of seemed like the cleanup of like what the storm left behind.
Ooh, child, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
any other deets?
I feel like that really captures kind of where things are. I feel like today was our first day back in like group fitness, so that was really filling to me.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that was I was really nervous about the 8:30 a.m. start.
Yeah,
8:30
a.m.
But I think that like it felt really good to like have gotten up and got a workout done really early, and like went home and got some other things done, and then I was coming over to hang out with you guys. So like it kind of felt like I said, like it feels like post hurricane season, like getting things back in order and like setting routines and like getting new systems in place. So like I think today was like a proper marker of what that looked like. So
I love that. Yeah, all in one day. It's been a really beautiful day.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are catching us. Yeah, it's sunny.
Yeah,
it's been
sunny
a high.
Today. It's been a high. So that's great, and I'm glad we decided to record today because of that. My 2 weeks.
What about your 2 weeks? Yeah,
my 2 weeks in. I feel like I love a metaphor. So I love that she said storm, because I feel like, it goes without saying that this last few days has been really tough on a lot of us in the world, just with like the elections going on and just trying to like sit with, the final decisions and like not trying to overthink it. I think I'm in a place where like, a lot of us may be grieved for a day, and then, there's different stages of grief, just like anything else. And so I think I'm in that place of just not really knowing what's next, but this day was special because we had a special time. We had a special event to remind me, I feel like, that there is light in the world and that we are each other's light for each other. So at the end of the day, no matter what goes on, like, we do have each other. And that really felt really good, because the last days leading up to that have just been like, what light is there exactly? Like, what is going on, you know? So that felt really good. So to kind of, have the weekend of just like sisterhood and love on each other, like that's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks in, it feels like that.
Honestly, sometimes having days like this really does make it so that like you can kind of forget, albeit not completely, but like the beginning of the week was tough.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, like all I could think about was today in that moment, you know? Will the other thoughts come back? Of course.
Sure.
But like, it's really nice to have those moments that just kind of take you away from whatever it is that's going on that can just like brighten your day. And like,
absolutely.
It's great that we have each other for that.
Yeah.
For sure. Ooh, let's not get all mushy 2 weeks in, honey. Let's get back to work here. Very good.
All right, so for this next segment, we typically talk about what we call sis picks. So depending on whatever the topic is, we talk about something that we take as our pick or our favorite of that idea. And so because our topic is being sister friends, we thought it'd be fun to talk about our favorite sister moments and moments that really kind of defined our sisterhood, that moved us from like just being friends to like, we're sisters.
For sure.
You either can start.
You're the guest.
Okay, I'm the guest.
Start off, girl. Top us off.
So interestingly enough, I looked at the question. I thought of a little different. So like, for those of you who don't know, Angelica and I have been friends since the first day of college. We got really close our sophomore year, which was 2012. 12 years ago. That's crazy. And so I feel like our sisterhood was cemented like long ago.
Yeah.
But I think that a moment that comes to my mind that I think about like, again, where our sisterhood was reminding me of like how valuable it is, because I don't have sisters. Like, so you all are like like you said, my chosen sisters. I don't have any biological sisters. And so my cousin, who is another one of my best sister cousin friends, passed away last year. And I called Angelica like 4 a.m. Like 4 a.m.
Okay.
I hate to do this. We just started, guys. We're criers.
That's all right. We are.
Yeah, like I called her once and then called her right away, and she answered and came over and like got in my bed with me and cried. And like, again, I don't have sisters. I have an older brother, and I'm a very like mushy cry baby. So it's like, this sisterhood is just such a safe, sacred space that like, if it's a joyful moment, if it's a moment where I'm like struggling or something where I need support, like I know I always have that in this space. And so again, like our sisterhood was cemented long ago, but like that was the moment that came to my mind of like what our friendship means to me. And it's like in the moments that are most trying, like despite the fact that it was 4 a.m, you know what I mean? Like got up and stopped what you were doing and came to me and stayed with me until I got ready to go to the airport. Like that's what our friendship is for me. And then like the same thing with Keisha, like we have a lot of stories too. So Keisha and I became like best friends through Angelica. So through our relationship, but like we've been able to form our own relationship as well over the years. And so what I think about was one of our defining moments, which was
we got a lot. They're very funny, most of them.
Very funny. I'm not
very
even lying. The first time Keisha and I went out together alone without Angelica was a Thursday night. I think junior year of college, maybe senior year. No, I think it was post college because I had natural hair at this time. And we went out on a Thursday, thinking like we're gonna have us a good time.
Little taste, yeah.
Leaving, getting to the spot, and getting back was about as all we remember. I lost everything.
I lost a journey of a night, honey.
And Keisha took care of me, as sisters do. Like, So
yeah. Sometimes that sisterhood just locks in. I was also inebriated, and I was like, "Oh, she needs me."
It doesn't matter.
Just like
she needs me.
It was like the call, oh, get it together,
let's
sis.
Do it.
You know, that was really fun. But that is one of the moments I think about too. Yeah. That always, and anytime when you're down bad and you can't do for yourself, and your sister is there, you do not forget that. That's when you really know, like, oh, friend, what happened? And you're like,
I'll tell you.
How much you want to know?
Right. But we made it. And we were safe. And everything was good. We got a Uber, a ride home and everything. But that was real. That's a good one. That was
made it to work the next day,
Okay. Ooh.
All the things.
We did make it to work. We're getting that money.
Yeah.
We still got the bread. That's odd.
And then we picked up your phone later.
phone,
things were
purse,
missing.
ID, wallet, had to write down, because we don't have a phone, had to get online and write down the step-by-step directions to get to the man's house to get our things.
Thank you to that man.
Thank you to that man.
I don't know who that was. He was so honest. He was like, "Oh, got your stuff. Yeah, come on, get it." It was a time.
It was.
It was a time. It was a good time.
Also, thank goodness for being able to lock your phone.
Man.
Yes.
And find my iPhone.
Yes.
Man. And I feel
helpful.
like even that,
Didn't use any of those features, but yes.
Right.
I thought we did.
Do we have it? We had it at that time.
No. He was honest. He
was
wrote us on
legit.
Facebook. Like,
It was one of those,
real stand-up
yeah.
citizen. John. Shout out to John.
John!
Yes.
Thank
Not
you,
Joe,
John.
whoever
Thank
you
you,
are.
John.
Yeah. He saved us that
did.
night. He did. But, you know, good Samaritan.
Yeah.
That's how we do. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to go into mine.
Yeah.
Okay. When I think about, my sis pick for basically all three of us, I thought about it in like a group because yes, we've obviously formed a bond, right, over time. And then took a while, but here we are, right? And then we formed a bond over time as well, and years of this, and it's been great. But I feel like even from the beginning of knowing Jewel and being able to talk to Jell as well, is like we've always been able to debrief with one another and together, and it's like that's always been a thing, even though I'm the oldest. And like, you know, you sometimes I did feel in the beginning, or even when Jell was younger, I used to be like, okay, those are her little friends, you know what I mean? Like, but at the time they were littler, they were smaller, literally, and then like I was older, so it'd be kind of weird to have like a, you know, like a senior and a freshman, like hanging out, like with, if I was hanging out, like, let's say at the sleepover, and be like, what's your sister doing? Is she like weird? Like, you know, like it would be kind of weird. But as we passed that like 21-year-old phase, and again, I always thought that we were kind of the same age, especially as we got a little older, but as we passed that, like got to that college phase, it was like we were all the same age and we were all kind of going through most of the same things at the same time. We were always able to sit down and like debrief and kiki and just do it for hours. And there was always a judgment-free zone. There was nothing that was going to be like taken anywhere else or had to worry about. It was just like, yo, this is what I'm going through. What y'all going through? What's going on? Like, and able to get pure like advice. And it wasn't like, and it just was always pure. And when I say pure, I mean like it wasn't tainted. It wasn't like for your downfall. It was like, what's up, sis? Like, what's going on? How can I help? And we would literally debrief and like take notes.
Yeah.
Or like get into action right then. It was like, yo, I got to do this. Even if it was for work, it could be a relationship, whatever. Like, well, let's make notes on it. Let's have you ready for that meeting on Monday. Like, do you guys remember those times?
Yeah.
I'd be like, and we all had our times where things would shift and we just be there for each other in those life moments. And I feel like those got me through my 20s for sure, and still do. But I mean, we started it early on, and like I think that's where we started to build trust, and like we're able to like talk to each other about things. And I forget because it feels so long ago, but like not everybody has that.
Yeah.
That's real tea. You know, like somebody to be like, let me elbow to elbow with you and like help you grind this out. So I really appreciate about our relationship with you guys. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Before I talk about my sis pick, I just was thinking about just, you know, this idea of like sister code and the idea that like in some ways there feels like there's rules, and other ways it's like what rules, the rules are confusing. But one thing that I can say about both of you all is I've never had to define any of the code to either of you. Like everything has come so natural. The way that we show up for each other has come so natural, and I think it's a mix of like what we want in friendship and in sisterhood, how we want to be supported is how we support each other, I think. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just like the most natural way for it to happen. And I know it doesn't happen like that in every friendship, you know? But I'm so grateful that it does here, because it's like, you know, we don't have to go through like, oh man, like, I don't know if I'm going to feel completely safe in any way, whether we're out, whether we're, you know, whether we're out of the country. I never have to second guess to say, hey, are they going to move weird? Oh, are they going to, you know, like none of that is ever a question in my mind, which is just a really relieving space to be in, because that's not the norm when you just meet anyone, right? But the thing that I thought of when thinking of my cis pick was just kind of like the start of the three of us being close. And I think about how, so what we haven't shared yet is that me and Jewel lived together for 10 years, which is a wild thing. You know, a lot of people were like, don't live with your best friend, like that never worked, it's gonna test your relationship.
Beautiful.
It was the best decision.
Beautiful experience. Yeah.
It was the best decision. Like, being able to come home and debrief, I feel like was just a way that we grew, not only like as friends, but like how we like sharpened each other, you know? And then what I think about with all three of us is that, like, so Keisha lived in Virginia and we lived in Maryland, so we had like an hour commute from each other. And so if ever we were hanging out together, which was like all the time, which was like every weekend, Keisha would come to our house and stay at our house. And we would, you know, whatever we did for the weekend, and then, like, the next day, we would wake up and be like, hey, girl, you out?
So about last night.
And then we would all just, like, sit knee to knee and just go over what happened.
Yes.
The debrief.
The debrief. And then we'd be like, you hungry? Yeah,
I can eat.
Absolutely.
I'm starving. And you always, I need that Subway.
I need the Subway. Don't toast it.
Every time.
I need the Subway.
What's your order at Subway?
Turkey and
order.
cheese.
Okay.
On American. Lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, pickles, green peppers.
That's why you know she
mayonnaise.
knows her order.
Listen, I'm telling you. Pepper, oil, and vinegar.
Dang.
Cut it in fourths.
And I always make you
Don't
feel
toast
better.
it.
She always
Every
says,
time.
like, oh, I need that. Y'all know what I need.
Yeah.
What's Subway?
Don't bring me a French fry.
Okay.
And sometimes I wanted some IHOP, and I'm like, we gotta go to IHOP, and we gotta go to
we
Subway.
That's
Jewel needs that Subway in the morning. That's a wild statement.
It is.
Jewel needs that Subway in the morning.
That Subway every time.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
But I just think that is just such a special time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that memory.
It
and
was.
it's like, I can't think of one exact time because it just happens so often.
You know what else I will say is, like, also, you know, we would kiki in the house, but also, like, we would be out acting a fool, like, in the best way.
Yeah.
Looking out for each other, just dancing around the club, like, we didn't have a care in the world. And I feel like that's also a test to, like, having good energy with your friends and moving in a way in love where it's like you make sure they're good, but, like, you know, everybody's free and nobody's like, you know, like, nobody really has no big attitude about anything. It's just like, are you good? Are you good? Fair. Like, we're just like, we're in the club. You know what I mean? We all fam in the club. You know what I mean? And truly, before there was a club, like, we were fam.
That makes me think of the Bahamas. When we went, so
another
I graduated. This was the three of us. I feel like this was our first trip, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Definitely out of the country.
Definitely.
We took a cruise. Definitely out of the country.
It was
my first
the
cruise,
day.
too.
It was the day after we graduated, right?
from college. Yeah.
Oh,
We went on a cruise.
Yeah.
We were in a room that was an inside, no window.
We got the cheapest room on the boat, honey.
We had a cot. It didn't even have to. We had 2 beds in a cot. We rotated out.
Yep.
We sure did.
We did what we needed to do.
We did what we needed to do. We slept when we needed to, and no pressure over, like, oh, I gotta take a nap. Y'all
No
feel sick.
pressure.
I gotta sit
Absolutely.
down.
Let's do it
It was like,
then.
man, we're gonna be at dinner.
Yeah.
We're like, let's meet us up there or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I'm skipping dinner, y'all.
Yes.
And it wasn't no shade.
Yeah.
It was all love.
Oh, that was so much fun.
We got some really good embarrassing pictures from that experience.
Oh, gosh.
And some cute ones.
And some really cute ones. Yeah.
Some cute ones I look back at today.
Yeah. I feel good about.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to the idea of, like, we didn't ever have to define how to show up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it just feels
Just
good.
worked. Yeah. And I think also, just to counter, because I don't want to say like everything is so rosy perfect, but I would say that I think we gave each other grace in times when we needed it, space when we needed it, and also like kind of like you know, you just start to know your friend over time. I know her. So, you know, I know that she's going to need space. I know that, or she's going to need a debrief right away, or like, ooh, she might be anxious. So you're like, you know, you're learning and you're moving with them. So I think that's also something we do well with each other is like, oh no, I know her enough to know she going to need 3 days.
Yeah.
Or I know her enough to know she needs to talk right now. You know what I mean? And like, let it out. So there's also just knowing your friend and learning their love language and everything too.
Yeah.
We do that.
Absolutely.
Gosh, I love you guys. Crazy.
Oh,
Sister friends. Okay, beautiful. So we're going to get into the code breakdown. Okay, the code breakdown is basically we break down the overarching, like, code that we try to move by, we try to live by as sisters. So for this one, it's sister friendships transition from friends to family. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of our friendship. And kind of how we've supported each other through life stages. Okay. So we've talked about how, we have done that. Is there any like specific life stage that maybe like, you did name one, you know, your cousin's, passing, but like, is there anything else that was like a major life stage that maybe you guys supported each other through, or you can maybe speak on that as well, like that support system for one another?
One that comes to mind for me, I think that like it was well, I'll speak for me, but I think it's kind of a theme through the three of us. It's just like relationships, right? And like what that's looked like over the years, and like how we've supported each other through those shifts and those changes and the evolution of, even if it's a relationship we still carry, you know what I mean? Like what the evolution has looked like and how we've supported each other through that, I think has been really special and like really valuable, because it's just, that's tough, right? That's a tough space. And like sometimes the relationships can like, it's new and it's, we're enthralled in it. It can like shift how you engage with your friends, or like now things are challenging. So it's like now you kind of need that listening ear. And like, I think just in general relationships, whether they be like interpersonal or romantic, like they require a lot of like flexibility and a lot of balance. And I think like balance can be really tricky to figure out in navigating like particularly romantic relationships. So I think like specifically for me, I think that literally the both of you have played a really integral role in like how I have navigated like relationships, and whether that be like the start of it or even like the closure, like the ending piece of it. I think like you both have played like really key roles in that for me. Like I was in a relationship for 5 years, and like when that ended, like that was a very interesting shift for me, and I can really think about very specific pieces that you both have played like throughout that, and like what that looked like to to be able, because again, I'm a person who I don't have any biological sisters, but and I'm in a space where I don't have any family that lives here that are like my peers, so it's like, but I do, because that's what I have in you all. So it's like, Angelica, like we said, we lived together for 10 years, so a lot of the time, like, because I have you, we had each other in that space, so like there are a lot of times where you were here with us. So I think that like for me specifically, like I think having sisters, and when I don't naturally have that, and like thinking about things that can be so challenging, something as relationships, again speaking for myself, like it's been invaluable, like having sisters to like support you and go through these things with you, or talk it out, or be thought partners, and like not judging, not telling you what you need to do, not telling you how to navigate the situation, but just like literally being a listening ear, asking questions to like help probe and your own thinking and like how you move through the situation. I think for me, like that's been like invaluable.
What I was thinking about when you were talking was just the idea that like, because we're so similar in age, and because we kind of like all have had a lot of mirroring experiences, it's nice that like, I think we've had a nice balance of giving advice, but also recognizing that we don't know.
Right, let you live, let you walk in.
And so... And also, I think that we recognize and allow that the other person doesn't have the answer. Because I think sometimes it can be challenging when, like, whether it's a relationship, whether it's work stuff, like, whatever the thing is, sometimes as the listening ear, you're like, well, I haven't been through that. And I don't have the answer for that. And I don't want to make up an answer for it either. But I'll be here and I'll listen and I'll give you what I think.
Jill's a good listener, as she describes. So she's actually describing herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure, 100%. Jill's a really good listener and gives really great feedback as well. But you really allow people to tell their things and maybe ask something and then allow them to like answer. You know, not a lot of people are like heard in that way by a friend. You know what I'm saying? In the club.
Yeah.
That's what we should name that.
In the club.
We all know. In the family, in the club. Yeah.
I think the questions, though, that she asks, like, are really...
Yes.
That's really
also
the key.
bring more out of you
They bring more out of you because it's not one that's, like, you feel like somebody's interrogating you. Or I feel like, why are you asking? It's like, oh, why they actually think that gives me something to take back and, like, think a little bit more, you know, and should chew on. Because, like you said, maybe I don't know the answer. Because I don't know the answer either, so I'm talking to you about it. Right. But now you're asking me things, you know, that, like, I need to actually dig into that more. And that can help me, like, continue to process this, even if I'm not arriving to an answer, but like now you're helping me unpack layers that I hadn't necessarily considered in my own right. So like, yeah, definitely the question master for sure.
Right.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet, y'all. I don't know. I just don't be having the answers, and I be having more questions than I have anything. But that also reminds me of something that I don't know that everybody does, but I know that we do. And it's almost like a verbal journal entry kind of thing, where like sometimes it feels like we're going through the process of journaling out loud. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yes. Am I being clear?
Yes. I don't know.
I don't know how else to explain it.
It's like therapy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like release.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's almost like I leave the conversation, I'm like, oh, I know what I need to now really dive into.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear it out loud. You need to get it out your head and out into the world. You're like, ooh, shoot. Because I know for me, sometimes I'd be like, ooh, girl, you answered your own question. Like, dang. Like, when you say what you're thinking, you're like, for me, a lot of times I'm like, I don't know that I even like what I said. Mm-hmm. And when I hear it out loud, I'm like, as I run it back, like, that's not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you need to say it though.
Yeah.
And then you do need somebody to have some questions in there, and you're like, oh shoot. And I never thought of it that way. Yeah. And then it starts to, then you can journal sometimes. Shoot. Sometimes you have like writer's block. I don't know what to say because I don't really know what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Right. Right. But like sometimes our conversations are like kind of highlight the places I really need to dive a little deeper there because how I said it out loud is not how I like it.
We're not, fam. We're not.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't me. Yeah. What am I thinking? Yeah, absolutely.
But y'all don't be judging.
I'm not judging because
nice.
Yeah, and I think because I think there is something to like us being the same like generation and age, like we kind of like, you know, we kind of grew up around the same time. Because I will say, like, sometimes we might, and I know we talked about, our last episode was actually about like how the different generations think differently and they move differently according to how maybe what's going on in their life, how they were raised. And I don't know that, like, sometimes I hear like Grace when she might say something to me and I'm like, wow, I never thought of it like that. Like, even if I talk to her about what's going on with me, she's like, well, have you thought about this? And I'm like, Gen Z is so like free with it. Like, well, what about that? Because, and not making you feel dumb or anything, but let's explore that. And I'm like, y'all are before your time. It's the innocence. It's the like rawness of like, well, why you didn't think of that? That's what I would have done first. And I'm thinking, you have no restrictions here and here, right? You know, like, not that anybody, I want to say no, I don't want to say absolute language, but just very much like each generation kind of thinks differently. Mm-hmm. And maybe the ones ahead of us might be like, oh, that's easy. Why do you just do this? Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, that's not what I want to do.
That's not how my generation
not to shout at
anybody.
Does it. Right. Not to shout at anybody out personally. Different club. Let me keep saying that. Different club, different space, different time. So anyways, that's all I want to say. But I did have one more question for you guys. Was there a time in your relationship where you really feel like it grew your trust? Like you grew in trust from a situation or a time or a span? Is there anything you can think of? I know I'm kind of like
specific to our friendship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust.
Like, ooh, that's when you knew, like, oh, I could trust the girl. Because we talked about the bathroom and all that and, like, being on the curb. And it's like, yeah, we were on the curb. But there was anything for you guys? I just like the R's. I like rolling my R's like that with Glorilla. Yeah.
It had to be somewhere in sophomore year, for
it
sure.
Had to,
I'm trying
because
to think.
I think sophomore year was the year that, like, we knew.
Yeah, I was like, that's my person.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
was going on that year? So freshman is when you met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then did you move in when you sophomores?
So, no, we were 3-4 couple doors down.
Okay.
Same floor.
Of the same dorm.
Like I have to walk past each other's room to get to my room. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all had singles too. So it wasn't, we didn't have roommates at the time.
Okay.
So it was like you were either in your room by yourself or you were with someone else who also had a single.
Got you. So was it maybe just like in that year? Because you both said it like, it was definitely sophomore year. What was going on?
Sure. Sophomore year was just like.
Was it wild that year?
It was just funny.
It was just funny.
It was
going wild, but we went through some things.
Okay. Like, so were there some decisions made that you were like, oh, I liked her decision. I liked how she helped me there.
Well, it's a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's a lot of things. It was like the first time where like we chose who we were around all the time, and we chose to be around each other all the time.
Fair.
Like we were always together.
Got it.
I think also it was like a year where the first year we were off campus. And so there was like a level of restriction that kind of was lifted.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we lived how we felt like living.
Right. So if you had to choose, you were choosing each other.
Yeah, we were choosing each other. Absolutely. Right. And like we were always together, and we were coming up with whatever we wanted to do.
Yes, I love that.
Whatever we wanted to do, whatever we wanted to eat, wherever we wanted to go, like even way more so than freshman year. Because in freshman year, it felt like we were like on the campus bubble.
Right.
And then sophomore year, we were on 16th Street. We lived on 16th Street, and so we were in the city.
Yeah, city girls.
We were outside, but we also were in our dorm room
with each other.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is like when you chose to be each other's chosen family.
Yeah.
Basically.
Now, when I was thinking about trust, I did think about Angelica's always been like our resident like makeup artist, hairstylist,
whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
Come to her. That's real.
Well, she let me put my hairstylist hat on and let me dye her hair.
Yes, I remember this.
Real trust, because we bleached it.
Yes.
And if you know about bleaching hair, you know that is not to be taken lightly.
It's not.
We bleached it, and the goal was for it to be red. It was an absolute disaster.
Wow.
An absolute mess. It was patchy and it was pink.
Wow.
And you know what? She didn't go off or anything. Like
that's how you knew. That was a moment.
That's how you know. Went to the store, got the rinse, fixed it. She did it, but
this time
I went to class that next day.
Sure did
with my pink hair.
Fair. So that's when the trust, you know, you really knew. It was one of those moments that you knew.
Yeah.
That's trusting, though.
That's
real.
I think also it was because where we were geographically, we were going out together. We weren't 21 yet, so we weren't doing like
big club things.
But we were walking the city streets, the two of us.
Yeah.
we were at house parties.
Probably wasn't safe the way that we did it, but we had to trust each other. We did.
Okay.
And I think we learned like things that we would do again and things that we wouldn't do again.
Right.
We don't have to go into
that detail. We go into that detail, but that's where the trust was created.
What about when you trusted us?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think Gel. I feel like don't assume that I trusted her. So let's not assume that. Mainly because like me being the older sister, I don't know that there are a lot of times that I gave you a lot of room to be like trusted with everything. Because I just, maybe felt like I needed to like be a part of all the things. But I think I guess to think about times that I trusted you the most is probably when you didn't tell my secrets. I feel like I was big to me. I was all about loyalty, very young. And, just too much. But, even when we were young, I'd be like, hey, don't say that, and she'd be like, okay, done, and I was like, test, check, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. It'd be little thing. It wasn't like crazy things, but it was just little things. I was like, okay, she passed that test. That's cool. And then over time, and not that the secrets got bigger, it's just like, I think it just grew to where like, I could trust you with my life at certain points, because there were certain points where our life was on the line, maybe, you know what I mean? And it's like, I need your help. And it's like, whatever you need. And I feel like that's also different that for all of us that we share is like, whatever you need, like, we gotta do the thing. And we can talk about it later, or we can, like, focus on whether there was boundaries crossed or not. But, like, we gotta do the things right now because you're in need.
Yeah.
And I feel like same for you. Because, again, I think I wasn't around a lot of times when you guys were like first in college, because I was in college. And I went to college out of state. So I was, down doing my thing, and I would kind of just pop up. So I would kind of just meet kind of her friends for like a weekend. It wasn't even that, it was very quick in the early times. And so I'd be like, oh, hi. And it would just be like, hi, friends, blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be the sister that dipped back out. You know what I mean? And it was later on when you guys did live together that I think we just had moments that, again, like, built that trust, like, one brick at a time, where it was like, I might be crying, about something, and then, Jewel would be like, well, what's going on? What's wrong? And then our debrief would happen. And it'd start again. It would start, and then whatever would be going on, it'd be like, it wasn't just that you were concerned about Jill. You know what I mean? Like, she was very much concerned just as much about me. And that's when I started to be like, oh, check, and I'd be like, checking my little thing off on the side, you know what I mean? In my brain, not like weirdly in my phone or anything, but like just very much like, for me, trust was built from like experiences, and experience each other, not just because of a relationship. Even with my sister, it was like, you got to do what you got to do to get in this club. You know what I mean? You got to have an ID. I need to see you, see experience what happens when, this happens. And I'm much more trusting now. But mainly because it grew from this. So thank you for that. I'm a better person to a better friend now.
Thanks for trusting us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah.
Something that I think also solidifies our friendship beyond friendship into sisterhood is that, like, it doesn't just stop with us. Like, our people know ourselves as sisters too. Like, our parents, like, our family, like, our extended, our extensions know, like, oh, yeah, that's our sister.
Friend. That's our sister, right.
Which I think is really special.
Yeah. And also, when you said that, it reminded me that, like, we actually just don't show up like that for each other. Because I know it feels like we're just like, oh, this is so great. But, like, actually, maybe we've sharpened the tools with each other and then became the women we wanted to become for others as well.
Yeah.
In the process. Because I feel like the process of it in their 20s, like, I feel like kind of maybe pivots you in different directions of, like, how you want to show up as friends, trying to figure that out. And now it's, like, pretty solidified that, like, I want to be a good friend. I want to be there for my friend. And then the people that we've been meeting even later on in life have been like, wow, you're such a good listener. Or I can really depend on you for advice. And it's like, I've been working on it for a while. And I have good friends to kind of, like, bounce things off of. Man, I love you guys.
I love you too.
All right.
So we have been talking about all the
Yapping.
Right.
Yep.
All the, like, oh, they're such good friends.
Cutesy.
Oh, I want a friend like that.
Very mindful.
But here's where we really kind of, like,
spill the tea.
Get into the tea.
Okay.
And this next segment is called Sister Confessions. And this is where we talk about where we missed the mark. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We've talked about a lot of nice things, but it's not perfect. And in no friendship, in no sisterhood is it perfect. And so we just like to be real about it and not just show the glamour of sisterhood and friendships and navigating this unspoken code. And just kind of
be raw,
show our cards a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll go first.
Okay. Long pause.
Let me remember.
What's she about to say?
So, one place that I know that I have missed the mark is I can be very right here in the moment. And in some ways that, like, makes it so that, whoever I'm right next to in that moment can feel me wholly.
Yeah.
But then I can be so in those moments that I can be not felt when I'm not knee to knee with someone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I am still trying to kind of figure out, one, exactly what the source of that is, but also, like, what are the tips and tools and tricks that I need to do to make sure that, like, I'm showing up as the person and the sister and the friend that I want to be in spaces where a lot's going on, right? And so I know I've shared on the pod that I am planning a wedding right now, and with that came a lot of transitions in life as it relates to, you know, me and Aaron moved in together, and like we have been, you know, figuring out what it's like to be an engaged couple, what it will be like to be a married couple. And like I struggle with making sure that I'm like splitting my time in a way that feels the way that I want everybody in my circle to feel.
Yeah, like how you want to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have the answer for it yet.
That's okay.
I think that like there has been things that like have helped and have worked. I think the fact that like we have, you know, times on the calendar that like we can anticipate seeing each other is always really helpful. But it's not easy. Yeah. And navigating that transition can be really challenging, not only for myself, but definitely for y'all as my friends. And like, I'm sure that like, you know, like we don't always talk about the specifics of it. And like, I think in general, sometimes we allow for like breathing room with things such as that, you know? But yeah, that's my confession. I'm figuring that part out. I appreciate the grace that you guys show me and like allowing me to explore what that looks like of being, you know, newly engaged, but also like that I love the heck out of y'all. And I am, you know, still thinking through what adjustments feel good. You know?
What it sounds like to me is like you're just like explaining that you're work in progress. And so are we all.
Well,
keep doing your thing.
That's my
confession. You
confession.
in the club, you fam. I'm gonna keep on saying it. You fam.
That's my confession.
That's it. How about you? Any confessions for you? Any sister confessions?
I do, but I also want to like speak to
what she's saying.
What
okay, cool.
The space Angelica was speaking about. Like that is a space that I feel like honestly has been an adjustment for the both of us. Like Angelica and I always say that like our friendship was like our first marriage, and it's like it truly is. Like we lived together for 10 years. Like the first person that like. We have friends, right? And we have sisters and we have best friends that are outside of one another. But it was the first friendship. I've never lived with anyone outside of Angelica and Jackie. But like 10 years, strong, solid, like I live with Angelica. Like our last apartment, our rooms, I can literally be in my room and I can see her from where I am. Like we daily debriefs, like cooking for each other, like checking on one another, like going through life challenges. Like we were each other's dedicated person. So like it's been a very big shift. Allowing someone else to be your person, and like it's beautiful because it's like, oh my god, I got the best person who could relieve me in the world. Like, and it's so beautiful to see you taken care of in ways that like are beyond. Like you always feel like, particularly with like your platonic friends and things, like you know what you want for them and like what they deserve, and to see you get even greater than that is like
everything.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah,
it's chef's kiss. Now I'm not crying, but speaking about where I felt that I missed the mark. So, as we mentioned, Angelica's getting married. So exciting. So exciting. And one of the most exciting days recently passed, where we went dress shopping. And so Angelica, as you guys have found out over many seasons or different seasons of the podcast, but is a planner through and through. So there was an option for like in person and there was an option for if you're virtual. I'm in person. I want to be in person. I want to be there. I had to go home for a family engagement, so I made sure that I went the one day and came back the very next morning, like 3 hours in the morning, because I wanted to be at the dress fitting. It was one of those times where I was not my greatest self, and the day took over, and I woke up the next day at 8:45. My flight was at 5 a.m. 8:45 a.m., putting me in a space now where I was going to miss the dress fitting. Woke up sick, just not well, and then also like sick mentally, like oh my God, I'm not going to be there. And like, yes, I'm there virtually and I'm watching the thing, but it's not the same. And I know that there was grace allowed in that space, but like, for me, it definitely felt like, and feels like a space where I missed the mark in our sisterhood. And
you're not supposed to name a specific thing, bro.
Well, I mean, we said a moment.
I know.
Anyway, well, we're being so
crazy.
transparent and honest on the show. Like, whatever, we're talking about it. We're talking about it.
Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart.
And this is what I want to speak about. But no, but like that is a big moment to me. Like, it's a big moment for you, so it's a big moment for me.
Sure.
And it's something that like, it's not one that we get to go back on. You know what I mean? We found it and it's beautiful.
Yeah, me too.
And I love it.
Yeah.
So I was able to participate virtually, but not able to be there physically, which was so important for me. Yeah. But again, I think that like something that's so special in sisterhood is like the grace that is allowed there. And like, I don't have to feel, what's the word?
You don't have to beat yourself up about it.
Right.
You know, it's like we've established that there's grace.
Yeah.
And we've also established that like we know that we're showing up the best that we can.
Yeah.
You know? And I know how important it was for you to be there. So like I would never be like, you're not here. Like no, like I know that you're already hurt by not being, so I would never, you know what I mean? It's like I think that is part of sisterhood and friendship, that like you can't,
gotta give grace.
Yeah, you have to. Yes. You have to.
Especially if you know the person's heart. I think that's what you're trying to also express is like, you know that you were beating yourself up enough. Yeah. That like, you know, the fact that you still showed up and then you're still feeling sad about it, it makes me feel sad too, because it's like, you know, I know there's going to be so many other moments. I know you said that moment passed, but there's going to be so many other moments that you're going to be there for babies and new houses and new businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, but, you know, it's all love. Like, that's what makes it beautiful about us.
Yeah, it really is.
And whoever we're, you know, connected to is like, that's the kind of grace that, you know, I just feel like us as women are working on giving to ourselves. And I feel like we give it freely to others, but sometimes we don't give it to ourselves too. And I do that all the time. You know, it's like we beat ourselves down, but we wouldn't treat our best friend like that.
Right.
Obviously. Right. We treat each other quite well, but we'd be in our heads like, oh, you know, you overslept. Like, how dare you know? And it's like, that can be so much more damaging than anything. And, you know, not saying that I do it, the negative self-talk is just like yappity yap sometimes, but we just gotta quiet that noise and love on each other. Let each other know. That actually goes into mine. Okay. Is communication. Okay. And I think like, let's say even for that example, you know, let's not go on that example because we already beat that horse. But just say for instance, like I think for me, I can be a little bit like avoidant of having tough conversations just for, you know, fear
Can we go back? Because I didn't know that
her nails weren't clacking. Her nails were not clacking. She did that. Keep that in there.
That's cute.
That's cute. They need to see it.
Nobody knew what was happening, and I just was trying to like get the sound.
They see the sound.
They don't need the sound. Sometimes your thumb actually doesn't reach those fingers.
Yeah.
You really have to see.
And listen, look how long they are.
You got.
I hear nothing.
It's communication.
Yes, communication.
But no, I mean, I can be very avoidant of having tough communication. It's not even just with friendships. It can be so many things. The job, a client, someone who just might have an issue with me or not like me, or for whatever reason, I just like clam up and I just like, I don't want to face it right now. And sometimes it's got me into situations where I might have missed blessings. I might have missed opportunities because I didn't have that conversation, or I might have missed out on friendships being as strong as I want them to be, or just being a good friend. I feel like sometimes communicating actually is being a good friend. And I feel like it can be turned that sometimes when you don't have to tell somebody about themselves. I think that it's how the tone and the energy that you give, but having the conversation, talking about it, communicating how you feel, because I've learned that people can't read minds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even tougher when you have a friend that actually loves you and cares about you, and you don't give them room to even know what's going on in your head, and expect them to be like, you should know me enough. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you have to use your words.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes I've fumbled that bag plenty of times, but I'm trying to be better. So
You are not alone, sister.
you don't gotta hear it. You don't gotta hear it. We're keeping that in.
She brought it back.
We're keeping that in. We're keeping that in. We're keeping that in. Run the tape. In the club. Keeping it in. We all fam. I can't even look at you.
I was just trying to agree with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I definitely fall into that a lot. And we have such great relationship, and you both know me so well.
Yeah.
You know the things that I'm good at, you know the things that I struggle with. Yeah. And like, to your point of like communication and like the avoidance thing, it's like sometimes people don't know you. And so they don't have the opportunity to show you that grace.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to navigate too, because it's like, ooh, I didn't text them back. Ooh, I didn't call them back. Oh, like, oh, now I can. Oh, and now they're thinking of this, and it just goes into a spiral. And so, I just want to say I'm here with you.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking, do you guys think has anything to do with like how people feel like we should be wired, like maybe as like women, or as like I kind of feel like sometimes like some people don't give us our flowers. A lot of people make us out to be so like passionate, I'll say, and rah and it's like sometimes I don't know if you guys ever feel like I don't want to be pinned as this like rah woman, lady, especially on the job, especially in places where people, like you said, don't really know you, maybe associates even, and you're just like, gosh, I don't want to be pinned at this as this person at work. I don't want to be pinned as this person in the friend group that's always, but you have something to say, and that's okay. But maybe you quiet it sometimes. It's a little bit different than with your besties that might know that like, oh, she gets quiet and then she'll come talk to me. But maybe just like associates, or you're just trying to be part of a new friend group, or maybe it's like 5 or 6 of you and you're just trying to be a friend, but you're like, gosh, I have something to say. Do I always got to be the one that has something to say? Maybe I won't really say nothing. Or if I always say something, am I the one that always got the attitude, or am I the one that always got something to say? You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes I just like even being around the people that give me grace. I'd like if new people would give me grace, or like be like, maybe even correct me and say, I don't want you to be like, where does that stem from for you? You know what I mean? Like, does that stem from your father and blah, 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 whatever? I don't need you to like read me as a therapist. But do you guys know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's like, I just feel like, I sometimes feel like it's a woman thing too, where it's like, be meek, be mild, be in your place. You don't need to communicate your feelings all the time. We don't always care about how you feel. And it's like, you hear that so much from society. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of shunned by being outspoken. And then on top of being just like a Black woman, I feel like in the workspace specifically, it's like, oh, here she go. You know what I mean? Or she's always the one that's doing that. Why we got to hear that all the time? Or why can't she just sit and be amicable and like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That might go off a little bit off of communication of friendship, but like just showing up in general.
Yeah. I think for me, I definitely understand that position, and I think that like it comes to mind sometimes, yes, thinking about the professional space. But I think for me, it's a little more grounded in like my space of like recovering people pleasing. So it's not always reserved in me like not wanting to shake the table, which because I have been attached to being
a table shaker.
A table shaker, that's happened before, but I think that's not my automatic. That's not where I frequent most, right? So it's happened. But I think that for me, when I think about like speaking up or addressing something or like my active avoidance and sometimes these difficult conversations, it's mostly grounded in the people pleasing. It's mostly grounded in like not wanting to hurt someone, not wanting them to feel bad, and then because you're hurt and you feel bad, now I'm hurt and I feel bad, and like, you know. So I think for me, it's kind of caught up in that space, and like that's something I'm working through, and I think with the line of work that I do, that's something I've really had to grow through. It's really called me to grow through that and be able to have difficult conversations and like recognize that like sometimes pleasing one faction is going to mean another faction is not pleased, and I've had to get okay with that. But I think that it's still a space that I'm continuing to develop in my personal life, like being able to have conversations that I know that like you may feel a little touched by what I'm saying. You may not love this, but like I know that I've taken enough time to think about and curate my words that I'm not coming off. Again, my intention is good. Yeah. And I've thought about the audience that's receiving what I'm saying, but I'm not in control of how they receive it. Absolutely. But there's still the anxiety that is attached to how they're going to receive what I'm saying. Sure. And I think that sometimes will stifle me and make me be like, oh, well, it's kind of easier to go this route instead. So I've definitely been on both sides. But I think like when I think about my automatic response, where I frequent most, it's definitely grounded in like a space of like people pleasing. Yeah. That's again something working through.
Recovering.
Yeah. Recovering. I like to say that.
Okay, so I must be the recovering shake the tabler.
Okay,
recovering people pleaser.
A recovering people pleaser. It's me.
Recovering avoider. What? Because we're all avoiding something.
I think I'm probably more so on the people pleasy vibe. And I think that growing up, I always was kind of painted as, well, not painted, but I kind of was viewed as like super meek, super mild, super plays by the rules, always make sure that she does what the adults say. Like that was always my identity. Yeah. And I think with that, I was always kind of hiding anything that wasn't that. Yeah. And so I'm in this space now where just recently I've been in places where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hide it.
Yeah, I love that.
Not everywhere. Yeah. Okay. I still put the mask up more often than not. Yeah. But I'm like dipping my toe into, hey, if I show up exactly as I am, if I show that I have a hard time with certain things, it's okay. I'm still enough. Right. I'm still valuable. Yeah. I still add to the table. I just might not have been at the 100% that I wanted to be. Sure. You know? Yeah. And so I wish I shook the table more. I think I shake the table in my mind, and I'm like, I don't like that. Agree. I don't like that. But I'm...
We were the best.
No one will know.
Oh, we were the best.
No one would know.
You would never know.
And that's not good. That's not a way to be.
But it's balance. I'm realizing that, like, you can't really, however somebody receives something, you can't control that. So you can actually work on your delivery though. And I think that's what it's been for me, is like my passion can go from one extreme to the next, and you have to be able to reel that in, because or figure out where it stems from. You know what I mean? Because I always felt like, especially in my 20s, I'm like, I can go from like Disney princess to like warrior princess. Why? And where is the gift in that?
We need a Mulan too.
We need a Mulan. You're right. Know? It's not like a fighter. It's like, I mean, like a fighter like this. It's like justice. Like I'm all about like the underdog, the little person, like fighting for what's right for the underserved, you know? And it's like, where did I get that? I was like in kindergarten doing that. And that there's love in there. Yeah. And that's what really makes it work. Yeah. So I just think that we're figuring it out. I feel like recovering. Like, it's that first child thing too. It
through and through. Like fight for the underdog. You're not gonna play with my
little sister. Right. My little sisters. You're not gonna play with them no more.
And if you think of like who we were to each other, it very much so was that.
It was like, it does make a lot of sense.
My meek and mild sister, she told me she don't like you, but she's not gonna tell you. She told me you was mean to her.
Keisha.
Right. And I'm like, no, be quiet now. I'm shaking the table.
I'm shaking the table.
I'm shaking the table now. Right. She told me she's not gonna tell you.
But she whispered to me.
You whispered it to me.
And I know.
Gosh. Go back and watch the first episode. We were talking about how Jill used to be like, can you tell her that I want some mustard on and ketchup on my hot dog? I'm like, she said she wants some ketchup and mustard. What else she want? And then I like go get her stuff and she's like, thank you.
She said thank you.
Right. She said thank you. So sweet. So sweet.
Oh, well,
So
you know,
anyways.
but you know, I think that you say you're working on your delivery. I'm working on delivering.
Delivering.
You know?
Yeah, and how about you?
Yeah, I feel
You somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
You're in the middle.
Like this scene is perfect. Like even when you were explaining, like,
middle.
oh well, my outside will say like all is well. The inside I'm going off. I'm shaking the
Right,
table.
right.
I feel like my face shows and I'm shaking the table,
Right.
but my words are not.
And you do feel it in just the
feel
same
it.
way.
Deep.
No,
If you
they
ask me,
feel it.
They feel it. They feel it. My words are communicating something
Right.
different. They're like, but they're like,
Oh, so you're right in the middle for real.
I'm really right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why we all get along so well. Awesome. Now we're at a place called Sis Tips. And this is when we give our sisters out there and really ourselves tips on how can we strengthen relationships and take them to a deeper level.
Okay.
So my first one is someone that might seem a little bit wonky, but just saying thank you to one another and showing each other gratitude. Sometimes I think, I don't know, sometimes even be a friend can be a little thankless, and we can go to each other for advice and we can ask, but to be able just to remember to like pour back in and maybe fill your friend up, and be that listener, or just like, you know, go over and make her dinner, or, you know, ask her like, you need to get your nails done? Like, I know that's kind of crazy, but you know, if you can afford that, or maybe you just go, you know, get her a card and just say thank you, but just showing up in different ways, with gratitude towards your friendships. I think it's kind of cool.
I like that.
Yeah. What about you?
I think for me, flexibility, I think is really important. I think that like we kind of touch a lot about like life changes and like how balance is important, right? And like with that comes the need for flexibility, because like in this season, I might have a larger capacity to do the outreach and do the check-ins and to do like the events
The
and things, the thank
right,
yous.
right.
Where this season I might not as much, and I might need the role to reverse. I might need you to tap in and see like how's it going, what's going on, because I also know my friend, and I know that like when things seem to get deep, she kind of tends to retreat or whatever that might look like. Like I think it calls for flexibility. And like what that friendship needs in that moment. I think that that's really important, because like we said, we've now seen each other through many seasons, and seen like, you know, how that's been flexible. Like, okay, maybe we're in a season where we see each other every week, or maybe we're in a season where we see each other once a month, or maybe sometimes there's a bigger gap, but like we're checking on the phone, or maybe we haven't, and maybe we're communicating through memes right now. You know, like, but I think that like the flexibility being there is really important.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's a good one.
I think my tip is just embracing vulnerability and being open and being okay with like your cards being on the table a little bit more. I think that you can't expect someone to open up if you're not also opening up. And I think that we have a established space where we know we can be vulnerable, but it started because we were vulnerable with each other, and we allowed for that, and we also expected that of each other too. And I just think that it's so powerful.
And just to that point, both of those things, like, or basically all of these things, is like, I think it takes time.
Yeah.
And you might not get that out the gate of being friends for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes experiences probably to be like, oh, that's what she needs. Or like, oh, like, I feel comfortable enough with you to actually let my guard down and let you see me in this space, you know, to be transparent. So, gosh, being a friend, a true friend, like, it's some work, but it's so beautiful when it works.
It's rewarding work for sure.
It is
rewarding.
Okay, so at the end of every show we end with a challenge, and it's not only for the listeners, but it's also for ourselves, and it's something that we want to push ourselves to do to strengthen the friendships and sisterhoods that we have. And so the challenge for this episode and this month is to reach out to a sister and just thank them for how they've shown up in your life, maybe opening up some space to have a vulnerable conversation if it feels right. But just reach out with intentionality. Think about the tips that we've talked about. Think about the experiences that we've shared, and see what kind of changes that conversation can have.
Absolutely. See the need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, anything else to add?
No, I just thank you guys for inviting me. Like, I had a lot of nerves about this.
Girl.
But I think this has been beautiful. I really have enjoyed
good.
this. Yeah.
Yay.
I love that too.
We're so happy that you came. And I know that at first you were like, you want me to do what?
Right.
On video.
Where?
And we're going to record it.
Beautiful
And we're
chat.
going to put it somewhere.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat like we usually do.
So,
Right.
Really?
Right. A regular debrief, basically.
Yeah.
Period.
A little more structured debrief.
Right.
With an
Well,
agenda.
messy, but
With an agenda.
structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. We have a little
little ditty.
liturgical dance we're going to do. Let's show her. Let's show her. Show the people.
Uh-oh.
All right.
You got to
It's
put...
quick and easy.
All you need is one hand.
You do. Just follow along.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Through.
Yeah, I'm starting to like
I'm
this
involved
more
in
and
this?
more.
This is something y'all
Just
are showing
follow
me.
Joe.
You'll do it too.
Okay.
Not you'll do it.
What?
Just like a Leo.
I mean, you can do it
You'll
too.
get it
Okay.
when you see it. Okay, you ready?
All right.
Okay.
Do the ups,
Ups,
the downs,
downs.
and the darkness.
darkness,
Our guiding light is love. The real sister code.
three-way heart. Oh! Exactly. Okay. Bye. See you guys next time.